Oh dear. No, Vigilus Defiant. Got to go live. Awesome. It's quite alright. Hello everyone. Am I live, John? Oh, about to go live, but not actually live. Hello everyone, welcome to Weekend Warlords. We're here to do a box opening for the new Magic the Gathering set, Ravnica Allegiance. So this is the latest set in Magic the Gathering. Ravnica Allegiance, we're on a return to Ravnica at the moment. Sorry, return to Ravnica. This is the second time we've returned. This is the second set. First set was Guilds of Ravnica. This set is Ravnica Allegiance. It contains the next 5 guilds from Ravnica. So Ravnica is split up into guilds of 2 colours of magic. So in this one, we have Azorius, we have Simic, we have Gruul, we have, I'm trying to think again now. So we have Simic, Gruul, Azorius, we have Rakdos, and we have Orzhov. So this set completes the sets, as it were, completes all the guilds. We're going to open this box up, we're going to see what we get. Hopefully, the card we're looking for is Hydroid Krasis. The other cards we're looking for are the Shock lands, so the lands that tap for 2 colours of mana come into play tapped unless you pay 2 life, hence the Shock. So we're looking for the Shock lands, we're looking for Hydroid Krasis, we're looking for a few other bits and pieces. Those are the real money in the set. That would be lovely to open. We want to open some nice cards. We want to talk a little bit about limited as we open, so draft, pick orders as we open the boosters, so what's good, what's not. I've been playing a bit of Magic Arena. It's got me really excited for the set. Looking forward to playing it on FNM down at Weekend Warlords on a Friday night. Cool. For you as well, mate. Thank you very much. Okay, so John tells me I'm allowed to pick some boosters out for myself to take away with me. That would be lovely. Thank you very much, John. As always, the guys from Weekend Warlords looking after me. Cheers. Right, so let's get cracking. So this is the first pack. I'm going to pick out some packs. So I'm going to pick out this one. I'm going to pick out that one. I'm going to pick out one more. There we go. Those are mine for later. Cool. Cool. Let's have a look. First pack then. I've got over here. I've got a little preview cam where I can put any nice cards that we see. We're looking at the rares. We're looking at the uncommons. We're looking at the guild cards, the things that I identified, and we're talking a little bit about limited as well. So let's have a quick look. So we've got Stormstrike. Let's lay them out. Stormstrike, Fairy Duelist, Sylvan Brushstrider, Impassioned Orator, Undercity's Embrace, Gravel Hide Goblin, Growth Spiral, Deface, Skittereel, our uncommons, Screaming Shield, Tower Defense, Windstorm Drake, a Stomping Ground, that's nice to see. We've got a Rakdos Guild Gate and we've got a Spirit Token. So, in every pack, there's a Guild Gate. This helps you fix your mana into multiple colours, which is great because there's a lot of multicoloured cards, so you want to play a lot of cards. Our rare for the pack is Stomping Ground. Stomping Ground is an excellent card, really good for constructed. So it's a red-green land, it's both a mountain and a forest. Enters the battlefield tapped unless you pay 2 life. If you don't, enters the battlefield tapped. Enters the battlefield untapped if you pay 2 life. Right, so Stomping Ground's a good pick. If I was drafting and if I was keeping the rares, I would definitely pick this first pick, first pack. It fixes my mana into the colours that I want. The most powerful card, though, however, looking at it, Windstorm Drake is really powerful. So it's a 3/3 flyer for 5 mana. It pumps all your other flyers. I really like Growth Spiral, although it's not really first pickable, but it's really good for Simic. It's a really good role player. And looking at the rest of the pack, you've got Undercity's Embrace, sacrifice a creature. You've got the Grotesque Demise, which destroys a creature with power 3 or less. Those are both really good removal spells. The Windstorm Drake is probably the card I would first pick out of this pack if I was drafting. If I was drafting seriously, if I was drafting and I wanted to keep some rares and keep some value out of it, the Stomping Ground, because the Stomping Ground is worth a fair amount of money. It's good. We've got a card. This, remember, is going in the folders at Weekend Warlords, so you'll be able to pick it up later this week. If you turn up tomorrow when we're open, you should be able to pick this card up and from the folders. So if you want to message John, and I want to message the guys here at Weekend Warlords, can do. They'll put it to one side for you, and you can come in and pick it up. Awesome. Right, we'll just lay the cards out there. So we've got a pile of a pile of uncommons, a pile of commons, and a token. So we'll keep opening some more packs. Awesome. So we've got a stomping ground so far. That's good value, that is. We quite like that. It's nice to see.
If anybody wants to comment, we can see the comments.
Or yes, we can read the comments on Facebook. If you want to comment, by all means, send us a message there. Hello, everyone. Again. Cool. So we've got Bring to Trial, Undercity Scavenger, Friended Arynx, Arrested Admonition, Open the Gates, Concordia Pegasus, Debtor's Transport, Exposed to Daylight, Summary Judgment. Our uncommons are Cry of the Carnarium, Gateway Sneak, Collision, and Colossus, Deputy of Detention. We've got a foil, 10th District Veteran, an Rakdos Guildgate, and a Goblin token. So, Deputy of Detention. Let's talk about this. This is another very, very good card. Seeing some play in Constructed at the moment. There's an Azorius, so a white-blue aggro deck running around at the moment. So, this card, very good. Quite nice. It's a 1/3 for 3 mana. When it enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent opponent controls, other than all other non-land permanents that a player controls with the same name as that permanent until Deputy Detention leaves the battlefield. So you play it, you exile something, you exile all the things with the same name as that thing, and when this leaves the battlefield, you get them back. So it's like Detention Sphere from Return to Ravnica. Detention Sphere did this very similar thing, but this is on a creature, so it's a Deputy of Detention. This card's very good. It's played in the Azorius aggro deck. It's a creature, and it sort of solves some of the bigger blocker problems that you might have in that deck. So Deputy of Detention, quite good. We like that. It's quite nice. Gateway Sneak. We'll quickly talk about Gateway Sneak. This is probably the second best card in this pack. They've printed a lot of cards where it matters about the gate cards, so the dual lands, the common dual lands. So Gateway Sneak is a 1/3 Vidalcan Rogue. When it gate enters the battlefield under your control, can't be blocked, but when it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So it's a 1/3, and when it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. That's similar to Ophidian, the original card that did this. But this has got a Gates Matters mechanic on it, so when you play a gate, you attack with it unblocked. Great. This card, really strong, keeps the cards flowing, keeps your card selection going in limited. Means that you can keep drawing, sort of outvalue your opponent, as it were, if you keep playing gates. There are a lot of really nice Gates Matters cards in this set. I would be very tempted to take this Gateway Sneak first pick, first pack, if the rare wasn't there. Cool. So, just put some foils there. Hello, Sam Cook. How are you? Welcome along. We've opened so far, we've opened a Gateway Sneak, but we've opened a Deputy of Detention, and we've opened a Stomping Ground so far, so we're quite liking that. So we'll just put some commons and uncommons over here. Quite like the Detention, quite like the Stomping Ground. Remember, these cards are both available in the Weekend Warlords folders. You can leave a message for the team here, and they'll happily put one aside for you. So, next pack, Rafter Demon, Rubblebelt Recluse, Prying Eyes, Rampaging Renthorn, Vizcopa Vampire, Footline Fiend, Wrecking Beast, Aeromonculus, Watchful Giant, Gruul Locket, Cavalcade of Calamity, Combine Guildmage, Hallowed Fountain. We're doing really well today. I don't think we've had a miss yet. On our first 3 boosters, we've seen Stomping Ground, we've seen Deputy of Detention, we've seen Hallowed Fountain. So we're doing really, really well here. Opening some really nice cards. So we've got 2 Shocklands, so we've got a Deputy of Detention already. The boosters I put to one side for myself are looking worse and worse because we're opening all the value already out of the box. So that's great news. So if this Hallowed Fountain wasn't here, what would I pick out of this pack? I really like, what do I like out of this? I like the Combined Guildmage, I like the Aeromonculus, it's a good flyer. I'm not actually too much of a fan of Galloping Lizrog. I think it's a bit clunky. You need to have a very specific deck to do it. But for me, I think it's probably either the Combined Guildmage or the Aeromonculus out of this pack. I really quite like the flying decks in this limited format. I think they're all really good. I tend to draft Tima, which is the blue, green, red decks, and I tend to draft the Orzhov, which are the black, white, blue decks. I really quite like both those decks in limited. So we're just going to put the cards aside for a moment. Awesome. Next pack. See where we get to. So yeah, really good. I'm really impressed with what we've opened so far. 2 shock lands, and a Deputy of Detention. I'd be really happy with these, so these were the 3 boosters I was opening. Have a quick look through some of these. Got a Sphinx's Insight, that's quite nice. Azorius Knight Arbiter. Law Mage's Binding, premium removal spell. Breeding Pool, we're doing excellently. Look, we've got 3 shock lands out of 4 boosters. That's really good. So yeah, we're doing really well. We'll see what the rest of the box opens. On average, a box tends to have 3 shock lands in it.
Oh, right, okay.
So yeah,
It's
it's a good start. So yeah, doing really, really well. So I'll rattle through a few more through the commons and uncommons a little bit faster moving forwards. But one of the cards I actually really like is this Azorius Knight Arbiter. So the Azorius Knight Arbiter here, it's a 2/5, can't be blocked with vigilance. It's just, I find this card so, it's so non-interactive. It sort of sits there, attacks them each turn, can't be blocked, and then blocks everything. It's crazy. I don't know what was going through their minds when they designed this card. It's really good.
OP.
No, it's OP at common. It's 5 mana. It's a loss of mana. But for what it does, it's just sort of, it closes the game out quite quickly. Very nice Sphinx token as well. That's quite nice. But yeah, doing quite well with the lands here. So we've got a Shimmer of Possibility, a Mammoth Spider, a Hasdra Officer, an Orzhov Locket, a Rakdos Roustabout, Scorch Mark. So this is one of the really good burn spells in the set. Quite good here, so it does 2 damage to something. And then if it would die, exile it instead. Just to cast Portal, Persistent Petitioners. So this card, you can have any number of them in your deck. And then it mills your opponent for 1. If you pay 1 and tap it. But also, if you tap 4 untapped advisors you control, it itself is an advisor. Target player top 12 cards of their library into their graveyard. You can have any number of cards called Persistent Petitioners in your deck. So if you wanted to pick some more up for your deck, because you need to pay, I don't know, 20 in a deck, or 40 or something, if you're crazy, you can play a deck full of Persistent Petitioners and Islands if you so wish. It's probably quite good, actually. Probably mills your opponent out quite quickly. So our uncommons are Ministrant of Obligation, which has Afterlife. Afterlife is the Orzhov mechanic, so Afterlife says when this creature dies, put 2/1/1 white and black spirit creature tokens into the battlefield with flying. Next card is Gaia Engineer, so this taps to add green and blue to your mana pool. It's a 3 mana ramp spell, that's quite cool. Next uncommon is this Biogenic Upgrade, so distribute 3 +1/+1 counters among up to 3 target creatures, and then double the amount of +1/+1 counters on each of those creatures. So it's very good with the Simic and Gruul mechanics, both of which put +1/+1 counters on their own creatures. So you can play something with a lot of +1/+1 counters, put a +1/+1 counter, and then double the amount of +1/+1 counters on it. So Hydroid Crisis, for example, in the pre-release I had a foil Hydroid Crisis, I had Biogenic Upgrade. I made mine an 18/18 flying, trampling monster. My opponent didn't live through that attack phase, but it was very satisfying. So we're going to put some of these cards back where they came from. Our rare, Gruul Spellbreaker. So it's a 3 mana 3/3 with Riot. Riot is the Gruul mechanic, so it enters the battlefield with your choice of a +1/+1 counter or haste. So it can be a 3 mana 4/4, which is really good, or it can be a 3 mana 3/3 with haste, which is also great. Really aggressive. It's got trample, and as long as it's your turn, you and Gruul Spellbreaker have hexproof. Wow. So the blue-black decks that are around can't mess with it while it's on your turn. So you play it, attack with them. They can do very little about it apart from block.
Only 3 mana, is it?
Only 3 mana, absolutely, yes. It's really quite aggressively costed. It's very good. It's a rare. It's on ramp. You can play a Llanowar Elves on turn 1, which taps for a green mana. Play this on turn 2 and get them before they've probably got a big enough blocker in play. Or later in the game, if they've got a big board of blockers, you can play this out as a 4/4 and then wait a turn and attack with it later. It's all good. Excellent. Right, so first card out of this next booster is Skewer the Critics. Spectacle is the Rakdos mechanic, so you can cast a spell for its spectacle cost rather than its mana cost if an opponent has lost life this turn. So this is a lightning bolt if an opponent has already lost life this turn. It's sorcery speed, so it's not instant speed, but it is very, very good. So 3 damage to any target creature or player or planeswalker. Spectacle for 1. So it's Lightning Bolt again. We've got Lightning Bolt back. That's great. There are lots of ways to deal damage to your opponents, as attack them with a creature, and then after you've dealt damage to them, skewer the critic, something else they've got. Or there are other cards that you can have in play that deal them damage each turn. So we'll see if we can spot some of these. We've got another Hallowed Fountain as our rare. We're doing really, really well. We've got 2 Hallowed Fountains, a Breeding Pool, and we've also got a Stomping Ground so far. So we're doing really well on our rares. We're doing really well on our shock lands. I'd be really happy with this booster pack if I opened it. So just having a look through the rest of the cards. Highlights, I think, probably Cry of the Carnarium. This card's going to sweep up a lot of your opponent's creatures if they've got them in play. That's quite nice. I think this card is really good in Standard. It exiles creatures that die. They get exiled instead. I'm really quite tempted to play this in Standard in a deck. Maybe a black-green deck that's got a lot of large creatures. This will sweep all the small tokens out of the way, or all the smaller creatures out of the way, so you can attack with your larger monsters. But really, Hallowed Fountain, we're really happy with this. Doing well, doing well. How's the comments looking?
Sam says 4 shocks in 1 box. I got 5 from 2 boxes. It confirmed lucky.
I am. Apparently I'm lucky, but only when I'm opening cards for the shop. When I'm opening cards myself, I'm less lucky. But yeah, it's all good. So yeah, we've had a lot of shock lands. So what have we got in this one? We've got Sage's Rose Savant, Axebane Beast, Impassioned Orator, Rafter Demon, Burning Tree Vandal, Summary Judgment, Rubble Reading, Applied Biomancy, Watchful Giant. Those are our commons. Our uncommons, Drill Bit. So Drill Bit is a Thoughtseize. It's got Spectacle. Exile, reveal their hand. You can choose an on-land card from it, and they discard that card. Swirling Torrent. I've been blown out by this a couple of times on Arena. So put target creature on top of its owner's library, return target creature to owner's hand. Choose both, so you can bounce 2 things back.
Oh, nice.
That's quite nice.
What high mana cost though?
Oh yes, it is quite high mana cost, but a return target creature to owner's hand is 2 or 3 mana. Put target creature on top of its owner's library, 3 or 4 mana. So really, you're getting both for 5 mana. So if they've got 2 creatures in play, it's quite nice. It gets a lot of blockers out the way, so you can attack. And in the green decks, you're playing large monsters with trample.
Yeah.
So you just want to get a couple of blockers out of the way, so you put their highest toughness monsters back in their hand and attack with your 5/5 trampler, at which point they've got bad blocks that they can make. And they'll take some damage, or they'll have to lose some of their board. I think it's quite good. Like I said, I've been blown out by it a few times. There's a lot of really expensive cards as well, so if you put that expensive card back in their hand, like some 8/8s for 8, they're going to have to spend a lot of time redrawing it and replaying it, especially because it goes on top of their library. They don't get to draw a new card next turn. They get to draw the same card they just had and then play it again. So you basically get them target opponent skips a turn. It's quite fun. Right, Basilica Bellhaunt. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card and you gain 3 life. Quite a good value. 3/4 for 4 mana. It's already pretty well costed for its power and toughness. And then when it ends, you get them to discard a card and you gain some life. It's going to stabilise the board quite nicely.
I've seen this on Arena.
Ah, right. We have some good news. We are very lucky. We have a Planeswalker, Kaya. So Kaya, Orzhov Usurper, is a Planeswalker. Exile up to 2 target creatures from a single graveyard. You gain 2 life if at least 1 creature was exiled this way for +1. For -1, exile target non-land permanent with converted mana cost 1 or less. And -5, Kaya Orzhov Usurper deals damage to target player equals the number of cards that player owns in exile. You gain that much life. So these abilities, they're not that powerful, but this is a 3 mana Planeswalker. So this is really cheap for a Planeswalker. It's gonna generate you very small incremental advantage, but over the amount of turns, like it comes down really early. Your opponent might not have much that they can actually pressure with and destroy it. It destroys all those 1 costs, so it may not be very good in limited where you actually play more 2 costs, but in constructed, it's definitely got a place, I think, against some of the decks out there. Also, you gain life every turn. So exile 2 cards from a single graveyard, you gain 2 life. So against the mono-red decks that are quite aggressive, play Kaya, tick it up to 4, exile a couple of cards out of their graveyard, couple of burn spells, you gain 2 life. You negated one of their burn spells, and they've got to attack it with their creatures if they want to get it out of the way, or burn it. Like, they're going to have to spend cards on it. Otherwise, it's going to sit there and tick and gain you 2 life a turn. It's quite good against some of the red decks. It's good. It's a Planeswalker. I'm not going to complain about opening Planeswalkers. A foil, Azorius Guildgate. It's very shiny, very nice. I know some people are quite excited to play Gates decks, and quite excited, obviously, to get foil Gates as well. So, yeah, we shall see. This one might sell quite nicely. You never know. But yeah, we've got 4 out of 7 booster packs so far. We've got 4 Shocklands. We've got a Deputy of Detention. We've got a Gruul Spellbreaker, and we've got Kaya, Orzhov Usurper, doing really, really well. Cool. So, Slimebind, Simmet Locket, 10th District Veteran, Dead Revels, Frenzied Arynx, Arrestus Admonition, Skitterreel, Growth Spiral, Ill-Gotten Inheritance. So we were talking briefly earlier about how to activate Spectacle, and this is one of the cards that does it. So at the start of your upkeep, Ill-Gotten Inheritance deals 1 damage to each opponent. You gain 1 life. So you have this in play. At the start of your turn, start of my own turn, for example, I deal them 1 damage, I gain 1 life, and then that enables all my Spectacle stuff to continue. So discard, ticks there, gains me life, loses them life. Eventually, I'll just sacrifice it and deal them 4 damage. This card's such a powerhouse, such an incredible card in Limited. I've won so many games with Ill-Gotten Inheritance now. It's crazy. I think it's a really, really good card. I've got also some nice removal. Ill-Gotten Final Payment. As an additional cost to cast a spell, pay 5 life or sack a creature and enchantment, destroy target creatures. 2 mana, instant speed, destroy target creature. Sometimes you're being attacked by a 5/5, at which point you might as well pay the 5 life, because that's the amount of damage you're going to take anyway, and kill it. Or, because Orzhov's got a lot of ways of sacrificing creatures, and sacrificing creatures for benefit as well, so sacrificing that creature might actually not be that much of a cost. You might be gaining some 1/1 flyers, there might be a reason you want to sacrifice a creature, it's got a nice trigger when it dies, so this one is going to enable some stuff in Orzhov. That's quite cool. Our uncommons are Macabre Mockery. So put a creature from an opponent's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It gets +2/+0, gains haste until end of turn. Sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step. So this is going to attack them for that final bit. For, say you put a 4/4 from their graveyard into play. So you've got a 6/6 with haste. If they weren't expecting it, they're going to take a lot of damage. The other really important thing about this card is it's instant. So you can play it during your opponent's turn, after they've attacked. So you can put a creature from their graveyard into play under your control, gets +2 cologne, and you can block their creatures as well. So it's quite the combat trick. I think this card's good fun. I'd like to play with it some more. I've not really played Black-Red very much at the moment. I should probably play some more. Macabre Mockery seems quite fun. Yeah, I quite like that card. Enraged Ceratok, so a 4/4 for 4 mana with can't be blocked by creatures of power 2 or less. Yep, it's quite nice. It's quite on curve. Riot, again, this is the Gruul mechanic, so you can have it with haste. So it's 3 mana 1/1 with haste. When it attacks, target creature can't block this turn, or you can have a 3 mana 2/2 with that effect. So what was our rare? Theatre of Horrors is our rare. So Theatre of Horrors says it's an enchantment. For 3 mana, says at the beginning of your upkeep, exile top card of your library. During a turn, if an opponent lost life this turn, so there we go, there's the Rakdos mechanic again. You may play cards exiled with Theatre of Horrors, and you can pay mana to make it deal 1 damage to target opponent or planeswalker. So you can turn it on for 4 mana. That's a lot of mana to turn it on, but in theory, if you're playing a Rakdos deck, you should have other ways to turn it on. It's a nice card draw. So effectively, you're sort of exiling cards under the Theatre of Horrors, and then as soon as you deal damage to them, you can start playing those cards out from under the Theatre of Horrors. It's quite cool. I don't know. It probably sees play in some sort of red aggressive deck. Something to do with your mana at the end of the game. Once you've this might be the end of the curve, so you might only play a lot of 1-drops, 2-drops, and a couple of 3-drops. So maybe this is quite good. Hello Daryl. Hello Rob. Hello Joe. Hello Ryan. Hello Alistair. Hello Luke. Everyone. Welcome along, joining us to watch the stream. So we've opened quite well. We've opened 4 Shocklands and a Planeswalker so far. We're not even halfway through the box. Doing very well. So let's open another booster pack. So we've got Gift of Strength, Arrest of Zeal, Carrion Imp, Skewer the Critics, again that 3 damage lightning bolt, Quench, Sagittarius Volley, Ceruli Caretaker, Get the Point, Act of Treason, Chillbringer. So we've got another one of these Gates Matters cards here at uncommon. So we've got Gates Ablaze. This card's very, very good. Deals X damage to each creature where X is the number of gates you control. So it's 3 mana. It's a Wrath of God. It's uncommon, so it's going to deal a lot, wipe the board. And at uncommon, that's a crazy card. You can draft a few of these in your draft deck. Draft lots of gates, prioritize gates quite highly, and then this is absolutely crazy. I think this is one of the best uncommons, even one of the best cards in Limited in the set. Yeah, I think it's really low cost as well, yeah. And then if you play a lot of large green monsters, they'll survive the damage from this as well. So we'll have a quick look through the rest of the uncommons in this pack. Sky Tether, so you tether something to the ground. It has Defender and loses flying, so they can't attack with it anymore. Domain Security, so this is the payoff. So the Azorius mechanic is all about playing instants during your own turn, so your own main phase. So if you play this, instant battlefield, you gain 2 life and draw a card. And whenever you cast an instant spell during your own main phase, you return this to your hand. So it's incremental value for playing instants during your own turn. Here's the rare from the set. So this is the Azorius Mechanics. This is Addendum. So this says 5 mana, draw 3 cards. Addendum, if you cast it during your main phase instead, scry 3, then draw 3 cards. So it's a lot of card selection. Sometimes you're just digging for a card, and you've got a lot of mana, and this is the only card in your hand, at which point casting in your own turn is not really much of a downside. You're digging for that specific card. So you scry 3, draw 3. So you effectively can look at 6 cards if you want, or if you've got a lot of cards in hand, you just hold it there with a bunch of counter spells in your hand. And if they don't play something that we think is worth countering, you can just draw 3 cards at the end of the turn anyway. So yeah, that's quite cool. Precognitive Perception is our rare for that particular pack. So we'll put these cards back and we'll open up another booster. So what have we got? Humongulous, Gift of Strength, Twilight Panther, Rakdos Trumpeter, Spike Wheel Acrobat, Senate Courier, Wrecking Beast, Get to the Point, Root Snare, Act of Treason. So those were our commons. They've brought Scrabbling Claws, so they've reprinted this card. So it's going to exile a card from a graveyard, or it's going to exile target card from a graveyard. So we've got some graveyard hate back in standard. We've got some more Gates Matters cards. So we've got the Archway Angel. So flying, 6 mana for a 3/4 flyer. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life for each gate you control. And if you're playing Gates, they can tap for 2 mana, so you can play lots of colours. So you can play 5-colour, 4-colour decks, so you can play a lot of colours, and this Archway Angel is a really good finisher. It's going to stabilise you. The other Gates Matters card we've got here is the Gate Colossus. This card's also really, really good. There's a lot of really good 4 and 5 colour Gates decks out there. This is colourless, so you don't have to worry about actually what colours you're going to play. It costs 1 less to cast for each gate you control. It can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less, so you're going to have to throw away some big creatures to deal with it. Whenever a gate enters the battlefield under your control, you can put Gate Colossus from your graveyard back on top of your library, so it keeps coming back. So that's really, really good. Stephen, welcome along. Thank you for watching. So yeah, Gate Colossus are uncommon. What did we get as our rare? We got a mythic instead, so we got Biogenic Ooze. Biogenic Ooze, one of those cards in this set that's really that I think's really good. It's an army and a can card, so 5 mana for a 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, create a 2/2 Ooze token. Beginning of your end step, so if they don't destroy it straight away, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on each Ooze you control. So at the very least, it's 2 3/3s for 5 mana. And then you can also pay more mana to create more Oozes. There are a lot of cards also that are Oozes as well. So this is the Simic Guild. The Simic Guild is all about biogenic manipulation and mutation. So we've got Oozes in the Simic Guild. And this is quite fun. I'm quite excited to play this in Standard. I've already picked some up. traded for some. I'm looking forward to playing this card. Not that you know what I'm going to play in F&M, of course. Who knows? I might be playing Biogenicos. Sagittarius Volley, Prowling Caracal, Thirsting Shade, Rubble Slinger, Scenic Courier, Rampaging Rentorn, Gateway Plaza. So this is another one of those gates, but this one taps for any colour of mana. Normally this card is almost unplayable, but because there's so many large gates really matter, this card is actually really quite good. On turn 2, you might not even be playing anything because you're playing so many gates, all your lands come into play tapped, so this is not too much of a cost. Play this on turn 2, tap another land for it. Effectively it's a 2-drop to fix your mana. This taps for any colour of mana. It's probably good enough. It's a bit slow, but I think it's fine. Scuttle Gator, Syndicate Messenger, Exposed to Daylight, Junk Troller is our first uncommon, so I'll show that on camera. Junk Troller Defender, put a card from the graveyard on the bottom of its owner's library. It's a 0/6 Defender. The reason I say it's a 0/6 Defender is that there is a card out there that lets you attack with your defenders and they deal damage with their toughness instead of their power. So this card probably quite good in that deck. Code of Constraint, so instant target creature gets -4/-0 till end of turn, draw a card. Angelic Exaltation, whenever you attack with a creature on its own, it gets +X/+X till end of turn. So remember I showed you that 2/5 creature with unblockable. So if you have that and a big board, you get to attack with just that on its own. It gets +X/+X, where X is the number of creatures you control, so it gets bigger, it's unblockable, it's got vigilance, it's crazy. I think Angelic Exaltation's a valid deck for draft, certainly. I think it's quite good. Rixmadi Reveler is our rare. So this card says 2 mana for a 2/2. It's got Spectacle, so that's the Rakdos mechanic again. 2 black-red. So that Spectacle cost is higher than its mana cost. So when it enters the battlefield, discard a card, then draw a card. But if you play it for its Spectacle cost, instead discard your hand, then draw 3 cards. So this is something to do after you've played all your red cards out of your hand in a nice aggressive red deck. Then you can play this Rixmadi Reveler, reload, a bunch of burn spells, and a bunch of cheap creatures into your hand and go again. So this is something to do at the end of the curve in a Rakdos deck. Right, so let's put these cards back. And let's open another booster. I'm going to rattle through some of the commons and uncommons a bit faster as we get through this. We've seen a lot of them. We talked about a lot of the cards, about a lot of the mechanics. I'll try and find an adapt card to talk to you about because we haven't really talked about the Simic mechanic yet. So Footlight Fiend, Spear Spewer, Thought Collapse, a counterspell, a cancel. Sauriform Hybrid, this has got adapt. So this is a 2-mana 2/2. Adapt 4 for 6 mana. So this is actually really good because a lot of the decks out there, you also always want 2 mana creatures, and 2 mana for a 2/2 is really quite good on curve. It's quite aggressive. You'll probably be able to attack with it on turn 3 after you've played it. But this is good early game, and it's also good late game. So early game you get 2/2 for 2, great. Late game you get to get a 6/6 for your 8 mana, but a later game you should have enough mana to have this around. So if you're drawing this in the late game, when you're drawing cards off the top of your library, you're actually pretty happy to see it because it's a 6/6. So it's quite big. This adapt mechanic's quite fun. I think this card really quite good. I'd be happy to pick it. It's a very good playable card. So we'll continue running through. Civic Stalwart, Undercity Scavenger, Coral Commando, Azorius Knight Arbiter, Burn Bright, Blade Juggler, Flames of the Razeboar. So Flames of the Razeboar is a hell of a card. So this does 4 damage to target creature opponent controls. Then it deals 2 damage to each other creature that player controls if you control a creature with 4 power or greater. So if you've got a nice big green creature, you play this, destroy their biggest creature, and then deal 2 to everything else. It'll sweep up that big board that they have in play. 3 toughness seems to be a really important number in this format because there's so many 2/3s, there's so many things that deal 2 damage. So yeah, 3 toughness, quite important. This card though, an absolute beating. It really kind of sweeps their board away. The Orzhov mechanic makes a lot of 1/1 tokens, so this Flames of the Razeboar is quite good at sweeping up the Orzhov decks when they've got all these 1/1 tokens out in play. Tower Defense, Eyes Everywhere, those are our uncommons. Our rare for this set, for this pack, sorry, is Ravager Worm, a mythic. So Ravager Worm says 6 mana for a 4/5 with Riot, so it can come into play with your choice of haste or a +1/+1 counter. When it enters the battlefield, choose up to 1, so you can have it fight target creature you don't control, so it's going to destroy a creature probably, or destroy target land with an activated ability that isn't a mana ability. That one's not so important in Limited, certainly. Might be a little bit more important in Constructed, but in Draft, this one comes into play, destroys a creature, and then is massive, like a 5/6 if you put the +1/+1 counter on it. Really quite good. Definitely a bomb in Limited. Cool. Let's have a look at the next pack. Stormstrike, Fairy Duelist, Sylvan Brush Strider, Impassioned Orator, Undercities and Base, Gavelhide Goblin, Gruul Locket, Chillbringer, Ill-Gotten Inheritance, Summary Judgment. And our uncommons are Smeltward Ignis, Shark to Crab. I quite like the Shark to Crab. So it's a fish octopus crab. It's got Adapt 1. Whenever one or more +1/+1 counters are put on Shark to Crab, tap target creature an opponent controls. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Interesting to note, Adapt you can only do if it doesn't already have a +1/+1 counter on it, but there are ways in Simic to move +1/+1 counters around. So you can put a +1/+1 counter on it, tap that thing, it doesn't untap next step, turn, take the +1/+1 counter off, do it again, and you can tap them out of creatures. Shark to Crab's really good. It's 4 mana 4/4 to start with. That's really good already. And then it becomes a 5/5. Excellent news. So we've got another Basilica Bellhaunt, and our rare for this pack is Nikaya of the Old Ways. So Nikaya of the Old Ways is a 5 mana 5/5. You can't cast non-creature spells, so you play it, you can't cast non-creature spells anymore, so all those burn spells you might have had, you can't play them anymore. But what it does is when you tap a land for mana, you add 1 mana of any type that land produced. So you get to double the mana that you produce. So when you tap a land for mana, it makes another mana of any type. So yeah, you get to play with double mana. So you make this on turn 5, untap, turn 6, you've got at least 10 mana to work with. Play some more big monsters, adapt some of the monsters you might have in play. Really quite good, very good. A massive monster though, but it does mean that some of your combat tricks, some of your removal spells you can't play anymore, which I have had a little bit of an issue with, but it didn't really matter because I had so much mana to play with that I can play some very, very large monsters at that point. So next pack, Twilight Panther, Rakdos Roustabout, Gorklan Wrecker, Azorius Locket, Titanic Brawl, Vizkopa Vampire, Azorius Night Arbiter, Catacomb Crocodile, Final Payment, Goblin Gathering. And our uncommons are Bankrupt in Blood, Rakdos Firewheeler, Fireblade Artist, and our rare is Mesmerizing Benthid. So this is a creature octopus. For 5 mana you get a 4/5. When it enters the battlefield, create 2 0/2 illusion tokens with whenever this creature blocks a creature, that creature doesn't untap during its next untap step. And it has hexproof as long as you control an illusion. So you get to make a couple more of illusions that have an effect, so they're quite good when they block. And then, yeah, it's got hexproof as well until they deal with both those illusions. So it's quite hard to mess around with, quite hard for your opponent to get out of the way. Chris, thank you for watching. George, thank you for watching. Johnny, welcome along. Andy, Gandalf, welcome for watching. So yeah, we got our Mesmerizing Benthid. We've done very well on our booster packs so far. We've got Kaya, we've got 4 Shocklands, we've got a Deputed Detention, we're just about halfway through. I think we've done very well. So let's keep opening more packs and see if we can get some more Shocklands. Yeah. Quench, Stony Strength, Orzhov Locket, Noxus Grudion, Rubble Slinger, Prying Eyes, Savage Smash, a card with my name in it. Excellent, very pleased with this. Ill-Gotten Inheritance, Syndicate Messenger, Act of Treason, Gruul Beastmaster, Zertar Goblin, Pitiless Pontiff at uncommon, Lumbering Battlement at rare. So Lumbering Battlement's a giant monster again. So this one is a creature beast, so 5 mana gets you a 4/5 with Vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, exile any number of non-token creatures you control until it leaves the battlefield. and then it gets +2/+2 for each card exiled with it. So what you really want to do is you want to exile all those 2/2s that might have got stuck in the creature stall so they don't matter so much anymore, or exile the cards you've got some nice enter the play abilities, like Chillbringer, for example. Chillbringer taps a creature when it enters play, so when they do get rid of the Lumbering Battlement, your enter play abilities can't happen again. There is another thing that White has going for it in this expansion, in this set. So in the set, it can flicker a creature in and out, so it can exile a creature and then bring it back into play. So this works quite well with the Beast. You get to trigger all of your enter play abilities again, and then also they actually untap as well when they come back into play. Quite nice with the Lumbering Battlement. Right, so Sagittarius Volley, Knight of Sorrows, Thirsting Shade, Feral Mackler, Fairy Duelist, Open the Gates, Law Mage's Binding. So this is probably the premium piece of removal in Azorius. So it's a pacifism, so enchanted creature can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated. So it's very similar to some of the cards we've seen previously, so pacifism, for example, but this has got flash, so you can play it in instant speed. It's quite good. It's very good, in fact. And I'd be happy to open a few of these to go in my draft deck if I was playing Azorius, or even to splash them into an Orzhov deck or a Simic deck. Scuttle Gator, Applied Biomancy, Gruul Locket. So our uncommons are Clear the Stage, Skatewing Spy. I'll quickly talk about Skatewing Spy. Skatewing Spy has got Adapt, so it's got the Simic mechanic on it. It's a 4-mana 2/3. But most importantly, it says each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it has flying. So if you're playing this in Simic, or if you're playing this in Simic splashing red, if you've got some Riot creatures, you can put them into play with +1/+1 counters on and they get flying. So actually, you often don't need to adapt this, you just need to put it into play, and suddenly all your creatures with +1/+1 counters on it have flying, which is quite nice. There's a lot of other ways of giving cards +1/+1 counters. It's really good. It's crazy. So our rare for this is one of the split cards. So we've got, if you turn your head sideways, don't crick your neck please. We have Bedeck Bedazzle. So Bedeck side of it says target creature gets +3/-3 till end of turn. So that's either a nice combat trick or a removal spell. And the Bedazzle is 6 mana for destroy target non-basic land. Deals 2 damage to target opponent or planeswalker. You're very unlikely to be playing Bedazzle unless you're looking for something very specific. But the Bedeck side is actually good enough that it doesn't really matter that Bedazzle is so strange. 6 mana for a destroy target land effect is a lot of mana. It is instant, so that's quite what it has going for it. But really, I'd be playing this for the Bedeck side.
I suppose that works on gate lands.
Yeah, it would work on gate lands if you wanted to take them off a colour, for example, if they were splashing for something. It's quite good. I think in a deck that wants +3/-3 as an effect, it's definitely going to be played, but I don't know how many versions of that there are when you've got things like Skewer the Critics. It's a good card, don't get me wrong. I just think there are better options out there. Right. I will, of course, be proved wrong because someone's going to make loads of use out of that +3 power. Actually, it turns out that +3 attack might be more important than a -3 defense in certain decks. Who knows? So, Stony Strength, Orzhov Locket, Noxious Grudian. I'm going to struggle saying this name, aren't I? So many cards that I struggle with. Noxious Grudian. Now, I keep wanting to say Gordian, but it's not. Grudian. Rubble Slinger, Prying Eyes, Sagittarius Volley, Death's Transport. So my friend told me about this. Now I've seen it. I can't unsee it. So I'm going to make you see it, and now you won't be able to unsee it. He's got hands for feet. I'll never be able to unsee that now. So yeah, now you've seen it, you can't unsee it either. Persistent Petitioners, Grotesque Demise, Root Snare, Resolute Watchdog is our first uncommon. Orzhov Racketeers, Vindictive Vampire. Our rare is Electrodominance. This is an interesting one because it's quite an Izzet card. And Izzet is not one of the cards in this set. It is one of the guilds in the set, but this is a very Izzet-based card. So Electrodominance deals X damage to any target. You may cast a card with converted mana cost X or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. It's an instant. This card's really, really good. Fireball is always a card that I'd like to see when I'm playing draft or sealed, and this is Fireball. But in addition to this, you get to play 3 cards. It's very is it themed, and is it was a guild from the previous expansion. So Electro Dominance is a little bit strange to see in this set. I'm not gonna complain about it because it's a nice card.
It's not even just its ability, it's artwork as well as
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's instant speed, so you get to cast that card from your hand for X without paying its mana cost at instant speed as well. And yeah, the artwork's very is it based as well. So you've got an is it mage there casting some sort of lightning spell. That's quite nice. Knights of Shadows, Thirsting Shade, Feral Mackler, Fairy Duelist, Open the Gates, Hazard Officer, Clear the Mind, Get to the Point, Steeple Creeper, Exposed to Daylight. Those are our commons. Our uncommons are Smelt Ward, Ignis, Rakdos Firewheeler, Angelic Exaltation, and our rare for this is Kaya's Wrath. So Wrath of God is deemed to be too cheap at 4 mana. So we've seen a lot of 5 mana Wraths in Standard until recently, where we've got Kaya's Wrath. It's very hard. It's harder to cast though because you need 2 black and 2 white. Destroy all creatures you gain life equals the number of creatures you controlled this way that were destroyed this way. So it's a 4 mana Wrath of God. We've got 4 mana Wrath of God back, but you need to be playing a very specific deck with the right amount of the right colours of lands to play. So if you want to play this in a 2-colour deck, great. If you want to play this in a 3-colour deck, you've really got to think about what your mana base is going to look like. You need a lot of dual lands to tap for both black and white, as well as maybe blue, or as maybe green, if you wanted to cast Kaya's Wrath in that deck. But yeah, it's still good. I still think it's really good, really well costed, fast enough to deal with some of the aggressive draws out of those red decks. Encroaching with the booster packs on the card area. We'll just move those out the way. Thank you very much.
I don't mind being a beautiful assistant.
Oh, thank you very much. Cheers, John. So, opening some more boosters. Undersea's Embrace, Storm Strike, Sage Rosamont, Titanic Brawl, Civic Stalwart, Dead Rebels, Rubble Belt Runner, Blade Brand. The amount of times I've been blown out by this card in draft as well. Imperious Oligarch, Root Snare. So this card, they play it in the middle of combat, and suddenly you're attacking with your nice 5/5 monster, and then their 1/1 blocks you and gains Death Touch. Yeah. And they get to draw a card, so it replaces itself. Yeah. Yeah. Death Touch, your favourite thing in Magic. Is it really?
Yeah.
Cool. I quite like countering spells, but I also really like drawing cards, so I like this card as well, because it's a lot of drawing cards. My favourite thing in Magic, to be honest, is bringing things back from the graveyard into play.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Spirit of the Spires, Junk Troller, and Eyes Everywhere are uncommons. Our rare is Incubation Druid. So Incubation Druid is a Simic card. So this says it's an elf druid. It taps to add 1 mana of any type that a land you could produce. If it has a +1/+1 counter, and add 3 mana of that type instead, and it can adapt for 3. So early game, this is going to be a 2 cost that taps for a mana. Good ramp spell, good on-curve ramp spell for 2 mana, takes you up to 4 mana next turn. But late game, this becomes a 3/5 creature that taps for 3 mana. Crazy, absolutely brilliant. I think this card's excellent. I'd be very excited to play this in Standard. So yeah, I think this card's very good. And I like to see this. It's also an elf druid, so it goes quite nicely in some of those elves decks that we've been seeing as well recently. So yeah, cool. So more cards. So Burning Tree Vandal, Homunculus, Axebane Beast, Concordia Pegasus, Noxious Grudian, I'll get there eventually, Blade Juggler, Rubble Reading, Wrecking Beast, Applied Biomancy, Rally to Battle, Mortify. So Mortify, they've reprinted Mortify. This is from the original Ravnica, the very first one. So, the very first block. I can't remember exactly which set it was released in. Mortify, just a classic instant destroy target creature enchantment for 3 mana. Really good, really sort of really well costed, very flexible, lets you destroy those pesky enchantments that those Azorius decks are enchanting your creatures with. So we've got the uncommon Azorius card here. So tap target creature, draw a card. So on Depose, which is very similar to an old card called Fire Ice. So the ice side of that said tap target creature, draw a card. The card was very played a lot. And the other part of it is Deploy. So create 2 1/1 colourless Thopter artifact creature tokens with flying, then gain 1 life for each creature you control. They're both instant speed effects. So this is fire and ice and Thopters. Both sides are really good. You get to draw cards, you get to tap creatures, you get to stay alive, you get to tap them down before they attack you in their turn. Or, once they have attacked you, you get to punish them by making 2 1/1 Thopters and blocking, gaining a bunch of life as well. So it's always going to gain you at least 2 life. It might gain you up to 6 or 8 or 10. Might be quite good. We've got another Gruul Spellbreaker as our rare. So this is good. We like Gruul Spellbreaker. It's quite aggressive. We have a foil. So we have a Rakdos Trumpeter as our foil card. So it's got Menace. It can get +2/+0 till end of turn. But yeah, Gruul Spellbreaker. Can't complain about that one. It's good. It's nice and aggressively costed. It's on curve. If you wanted to play something similar to the old red-green monsters we've historically seen, green-red monsters, this probably goes quite nicely in the sort of green-red monsters that wants to play a mana creature on turn 1 and a 3-cost on turn 2 into massive monsters from then on out. So next set, Sphinx's Insight, Territorial Boar, Knights of Sorrows, Carrion Imp, Gravelhide Goblin, Shimmer of Possibility, Scuttle Gator, Syndicate Messenger, Exposed to Daylight, Azorius Night Arbiter. Those are our commons. Ministrant of Obligation, Consecrate Consume, the Azorius uncommon split card, exile card from a graveyard, draw a card. So quite a role player there, probably quite a good sideboard card, but the Consume side is very nice. Target player sacrifices the creature with the greatest power amongst creatures they control. You gain 1 life equal to its. You gain life equal to its power. So it's going to destroy the biggest creature they've got. Kills Carnage Tyrant. It's very nice. It's got sorcery speed, so they at least get to play their creature and attack you with it. Maybe if it's got haste, but if it hasn't, they play their creature and you go, "Oh, that's nice. I'll consume it." Carnage Tyrant has got hexproof. So you've been unable to really destroy it very easily in some of those control decks out there. So this is a nice addition. Probably see some sideboard play in some of those decks, some of those Esper control decks. Tome of the Guild Pact is our rare. So whenever you cast a multicolored spell, draw a card, and it says tap to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So 5 mana. It's quite slow, but once you've got it in play, you will just keep motoring along and drawing a lot of cards. I don't think it'll see much play in Standard. I think where this really shines is Commander, where you might be playing a big multicolored deck, and then you get to draw a lot of cards with it, especially if you're playing some sort of Commander deck where you want to make a lot of spells in a single turn, and if all those spells are multicolored, then you draw a lot of cards. I think this is really nice for Commander. I don't think it'll see too much play in Limited, or in Constructed. I've seen it played a couple of times in Limited. It's been quite nice. But yeah, Commander, where these big mana effects really shine, this sort of card I think is going to be really quite nice. Hazard Officer, Undercity Embrace, Storm Strike, Sage Dro Savant, Titanic Brawl, Coral Commando, Rubble Belt Runner, Blade Brand, Chillbringer, Tin Street Dodger is our first uncommon, Clan Guildmage, Vindictive Vampire. Those are our uncommons. We've got a foil. Ooh, we've got a foil in this pack. So Growth Chamber Guardian is an Elf Crab Warrior. Some of the creature types in these Simic cards are very, very fun. So this is a 2 mana 2/2 with Adapt, so it's got the Simic mechanic on it. So adapts 2 for 3 mana. When 1 or +1/+1 counters are put on Growth Chamber Guardian, search your library for a card named Growth Chamber Guardian, so you get more of them, and put it into your hand and shuffle your library. So it's an army and a can card again. So you get to play this, you get to get more Growth Chamber Guardians out of your deck. Quite a nice 2/2 for 2. So early game it's quite nice, and then the next turn you get to make it into a 4/4 on turn 3. Our foil is a foil rare, very exciting. So we've got Repudiate, Replicate. So the Repudiate side is for 2 mana, hybrid green-blue, hybrid green-blue. So you can play double blue, double green, green-blue for it if you really wanted to. Counter target activated ability or triggered ability. So that could be a Planeswalker activation, that could be a fetch land. So that could be a triggered ability, so an enter the battlefield ability. So that Repudiate's quite a flexible card. But the other side of it, Replicate, create a token that's a copy of target creature you control. So your best creature in play you get to make a copy of. You get to copy something for 3 mana, you get to counter a triggered ability for 2 mana. It's quite good. There's a card called Trick Bind that we've historically seen from Simic in some of the earlier sets. And this is similar to the way Trick Bind works. The other card that we got in that booster pack as well, very exciting, a Domri emblem. So if you needed a Domri Raid emblem, we have one. Beginning of each end step, create a 4/4 red and green beast token with trample. That's going to end some games quite quickly. But yep, a foil Repudiate, Replicate. That's going to be a mouthful after a while. Let's open another booster. I think I opened one of the boosters I put aside for me. I wonder what was in it. I can't remember. Right, so next one. Civic Stalwart, Dead Rebels, Burning Tree Vandal, Homunculus, Axebane Beast, Concordia Pegasus, Growth Spiral, Burn Bright, Savage Smash, another card with my name in it, Debtor's Transport. Right, so those are the commons. Uncommons, we've got the Sphinx of the Guild Pact. So it is all colours, although it costs no colours. Flying, and it's hexproof and monocoloured, so you can't target it with monocoloured spells. Seems quite good. Regenesis Trollbed Guardian. So this gives trample to anything with a +1/+1 counter on it. And we have another Electro Dominance as our rare. So that's Simic card again. That is it card again, which is quite interesting that it's been printed in this set. Right, so we'll put that there. We'll put these uncommons in the uncommon pile. Sorting cards as we go. So Electro Dominance is the rare from that pack. Let's have a quick look what we got in the next one. Sauriform Hydrid, 10th District Veteran, Plague White, Scorchmark Homunculus, Catacomb Crocodile, Final Payment, Goblin Gathering, Coral Commando. Light Up the Stage, so this is another card that's been played a lot of in mono red. So this is 3 mana, it's got Spectacle for a single mana, exile the top 2 cards of your library until the end of your next turn, you may play those cards. So it's a draw 2 cards in red for a single red mana. That's really quite powerful. Red deck has no shortage of ways to deal damage to your opponents. Good news, we have a foil mythic in this pack. I'm going to hide it from everyone though, because it's very exciting. So Wilderness Reclamation, this card, absolutely crazy. I don't know what they were thinking. At the beginning of your end step, untap all lands you control. Yeah, I agree. It's mental. You play this on turn 4, you untap, you've got all these lands in play that untap each turn. You get to play with all your counter spells and your fogs and everything like that against people. You get to play with your Nexus of Fate, which lets you take extra turns at instant speed. And at the end of beginning of your end step, you tap all your lands, make a bunch of mana, untap them, tap them all, make another bunch of mana. Suddenly you've got 8 or 10 mana at the end of your turn to use as you will, and that's at instant speed. You can play a Nexus, which takes you an additional turn, and then you get to untap all your lands for the start of your turn and take another one. It's pretty crazy. An Incubation Incongruity, an uncommon. We've got Endray's Forerunners at rare for this pack. So it has Vigilance, Trample and Haste. It's 8 mana, triple green. It's quite hard to cast. But when it enters the battlefield, other creatures you control get +2/+2 Vigilance and Trample till end of turn. So it's like an overrun. But they gain Vigilance, so you can attack with them more or less without worry that you won't be able to block next turn, unless people are able to death touch them all to death. But they gives them trample. It should end the game quite quickly. our foil for this pack is really exciting actually, because we've opened a foil Planeswalker. Domri, woohoo!
Whoa!
Chaos, Domri Chaosbringer. So 4 mana for a 5 loyalty Planeswalker with +1, add red or green to your mana pool. If you spend that money on a creature, it gains Riot. Look at the top 4 cards of your library and reveal up to 2 creature cards from them, put them into your hand, put the rest on the bottom in a random order. And -8, you get the emblem we just saw, which is to put a red and green beast into play each turn. Exciting stuff. Yes, we've opened a foil Planeswalker. That's very nice. We've had a very, very nice booster box so far. Sam, hello. Thank you very much for the comments. 4 shocks in a box. Yeah, indeed. It's exciting stuff. We've got a foil Planeswalker. We've got 2 Planeswalkers, 4 Shocklands. We've got a Kaya's Wrath. We've got a foil Repudiate, Replicate, and we've got a Deputative Detention. It's quite nice. We've also now got a foil Domri to go with it. We've opened a lot of very, very nice cards from this box. I really worry about the boosters I picked out for myself. They're going to be terrible, aren't they? Right, I haven't opened them yet. Prowling Caracal, Thirsting Shade, Rubble Slinger, Senate Courier, Rampaging Rentorn, Twilight Panther, Rakdos Locket, Aeromunculus, Justicar's Portal, Gateway Plaza. We have the Ram, we have the Sheep himself, the Goat, the Great Gatebreaker Ram. So this is the real payoff you want to see for the Gates Matters deck. So it gets +1/+1 for each gate you control. As long as you control 2 or more gates, it has Vigilance and Trample. So there's the card that does 1 damage to everything for each gate you control. This is guaranteed to always survive it with at least 2 damage left to take. It's crazy. 3 mana for probably a 4/4 Vigilance Trample monster that just gets bigger as you continue to play the game is absolutely crazy. Really, really good card. Yeah, the Gates Matter stuff in this set have been absolutely brilliant. So we've got a Sphinx of New Prav. We've got a High Alert. So this is the card I was talking about that says your creatures deal damage with their toughness rather than their power. Also, creatures can attack as if they didn't have Defender as well. And you can untap creatures as well. So if you've got something that taps to do something like the Guild Mages, you can use those quite nicely. Norzov Guildgate, a Spirit Token, and we have a Blood Crypt. So 5 Shocklands in this box. That's great news. We've got stocking the folder up with a lot of Shocklands here, so people will be happy. I'm happy. So we'll put the foil Planeswalker over there. Let's put some uncommons in a pile. So we've got 2 Hallowed Fountains, a Stomping Ground and a Breeding Pool, and a Blood Crypt. We're missing one of them for the full set. So we just need the black-white one, the Godless Shrine. And then we have at least one of each from this box. Noxious Grudian, almost got there. Skewer the Critics, Thought Collapse, Stony Strength, Bring to Trial, Rakdos Trumpeter, Imperious Oligarch, Watchful Giant, Gateway Plaza, Sentinel's Mark, Depose Deploy, Rhythm of the Wild. So Rhythm of the Wild is another really good card. So this thing, when you play a creature, it gains Riot. So creature spells you control can't be countered, and non-token creatures you control have Riot. So either they hit haste or +1/+1 counter. So every creature you play, in theory, can have haste, which is really cool. Very similar to an old card we saw called Fires of Yavimaya from back in the day. Font of Agonies is our rare. Orzhov Guildgate. We've got a foil Scorchmark as well, so a foil burn spell for you people who like burn decks. Yes, you're crazy, but I know you're out there. Sam Points, for example. Font of Agonies says whenever you pay life, put that money blood counters on Font of Agonies, and you can pay 1 and a black, remove 4 blood counters from Font of Agonies, destroy target creature. So if you're playing a deck that wants to pay life, Font of Agonies probably goes in it. It just sits there, gains blood counters, and then eventually just keeps removing blood counters from itself to destroy more creatures. You can pay it on turn 1 as well. So if you're playing a deck that wants to pay a loss of life, Font of Agonies is probably quite good for that deck. So, Spear Spewer, Sphinx's Insight, Territorial Boar, Knight of Sorrows, Carrion Imp, Gravelhide Goblin, Final Payment, Rubble Reading, Ceruli Caretaker, Syndicate Messenger. There are commons, Orzhov Racketeers, Terramander. Terramander has seen some play recently in Standard. It is a Drake, and it goes in the Izzet Drake's deck. So this plays quite nicely with some of the Izzet cards. A lot of the Izzet Drake's deck wants to play a lot of instants and sorceries. So it's a 1/1 flyer for 1, but you can pay 8 mana and adapt it. So it's got adapt 4, so you get to put 4 +1/+1 counters on it, but it costs less to activate for each instance or sorcery card in your graveyard. Izzet Drake's plays a lot of cards that pay, for example, 1 mana, scry 1, draw a card, opt. So you get to fill your graveyard up with a lot of instance sorcery, so you can play a lot of burn spells. So this sometimes is a 2 mana 5/5 flyer, which to me sounds quite nice. We've got an Orzhov Racketeers and a Mortify in this pack as well. Immolation Shaman is our rare. So and we've got a Azorius Guildgate and a Beast token. So Immolation Shaman, whenever an opponent activates an ability of an artifact, creature or land that isn't a mana ability, it deals 1 damage to that player. This is one of those sort of standard role player cards that they put in just in case, say, a Planeswalker, it's not a Planeswalker, so certain creatures get out of hand or artifacts get out of hand. They put these sort of cards in, so they say, if this is a real problem, we've got the answer to it in the sideboard. For example, there's a card that says, tap, sacrifice a creature, search your library for a creature with one cost greater. So if that gets out of hand, Immolation Shaman's a pretty good out to dealing with it. So they put these sort of cards in just in case. It's a 2 mana 1/3 with gets +3/+3 and menace till end of turn. So it's quite aggressive in the right sort of decks. It's a mana sink for limited, but it's really in there just sort of hose some of those cards that I mentioned. This card against Walking Blister that we saw last Standard. So Walking Blister, it said remove a counter from it, deal 1 damage, target creature or player. Basically, they're taking 1 damage each time they remove a +1 or remove a counter from it. So it's those sort of cards that it's built to hate on. But it's a sort of standard. It's sort of a sideboard card that they've got in Standard in case something gets out of hand. And they occasionally print those. We also got a Beast token to go with the Domri. So the emblem. Let's see if we can find that emblem again. I'll put it down somewhere.
To your right, I think.
To my right. Excellent. Yes, indeed. So we got a Beast token in there. So we've got all the tokens we need for that Domri. So we've got the Domri, we've got the Beast that it makes, that the emblem makes, and we've got the emblem itself. So they can all be sold together. Rakdos Roustabout, Gorklan Wrecker, Azorius Locket, Titanic Brawl, Vizkopa Vampire, Footlight Fiend, Law Mage's Binding, Scuttlegator, Aeromonculus, Burn Bright. Those are our commons. Our uncommons are Clear the Stage, Wall of Lost Thoughts, Senate Guild Mage. So these are the Guild Mages I was talking about. Senate Guild Mage says white tap, gain 2 life, blue tap, draw a card, then discard a card. So it's similar to Merfolk Looter. Merfolk Looter was a very powerful effect in Limited, and so we get to play Merfolk Looter again in Limited. Senate Guild Mage is quite good. And then if you didn't have that blue mana, you can always get, or if you like the cards you got in hand, you can gain 2 life, which is quite good in the meta, so quite good. Slows the game down a little bit. So Verity Circle is our rare. Whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes tapped, if it isn't being declared as an attacker, you may draw a card. So that's sort of an out to these sort of Guild Mage effects. So you can also tap the target creature without flying. So you can draw cards, tap their creatures without flying. They get tapped, they're not bitten, they're not an attacker, so you can draw cards. So it's going to sit there and play, gain you a lot of value, tap their creatures down. Also, if they've got creatures that tap to do things, you get to draw cards as well. That card's probably very, very good and limited. I hadn't really seen it before. I hadn't really looked for it in any of the spoilers I'd seen online. So I quite like that card. I've not seen it much before. I've not played with it. I imagine that it's quite powerful though in a long, slow control game deck, and those are the sort of decks that I enjoy playing as well. Right, so Gift of Strength, a Twilight Panther, Rakdos Trumpeter, Spike Will Adept, thank you very much. Senate Courier, Mammoth Spider, Azorius Night Arbiter, Burn Bright, Blade Juggler, Gruul Locket. Those are our commons. Sentinel's Mark, another Rhythm of the Wild, Syndicate Guild Mage. Those are our uncommons. Our rare is Revival Revenge. So this is the Orzhov rare split card. Don't crook your necks looking sideways too much. Return target creature card with converted mana cost 3 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. It's Revival. So that's quite nice. Double your life total is Revenge, and then target opponent loses half their life rounded up. That's 6 mana. So that's going to be quite a game ender. That's quite a bit of reach to, if they're on a high life total, you can make them lose half their life. If you're on a high life total, you gain a loss of life. It's going to slow the game down, draw it out a bit longer, which is probably what Orzhov wants to do. Revival, return target creature from converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's a very powerful effect, especially in older formats where a lot of the cheaper creatures are very powerful. And standard, I could return a Knight of Autumn. That seems pretty good. Knight of Autumn says destroy target instant, or it's got a lot of interplay abilities on it. So I quite like Knight of Autumn with Revival, just off the top of my head. So let's have a quick look at what we got in the next booster pack. Grasping Thrall, Consigned to the Pit, Rubble Belt Recluse, Azorius Locket, Territorial Boar, Bring to Trial, Chillbringer, Ill-Gotten Inheritance, which Ill-Gotten Inheritance works quite nicely with Revenge. So this is the card that drains them for 1 each turn. So Ill-Gotten Revenge is going to half their life total. So if they're on 10, it takes them down to 5. If you've got Ill-Gotten Inheritance, they're just dead next turn, because they take 1 in your upkeep and you get sacrificed to 4 damage. So yeah, that works very well with the Ill-Gotten Inheritance. I think that Ill-Gotten Inheritance is a very, very good card. Summary Judgment, Cerulean Caretaker. So that rounds out our commons for that pack. Flames of the Raised Boar, which I've said I like a lot. Spire Mangler, Gate Colossus. Emergency Powers is our rare, is a mythic for this pack. So, Emergency Powers, 7 mana. Each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their library and draws 7 cards. Exile Emergency Powers. So it's Time Twister. Time Twister is a piece of the power 9. Time Twister costs 3 mana, that's why it's a piece of the power 9, and it doesn't exile itself. So Time Twister is incredibly powerful, but this is similar to Time Twister. Time Twister is a sorcery, so you can't play it in instant speed. So you can play this right at the end of your turn 7 or something if you've gone a little bit faster. You can cast this spell during your main phase. You can put a permanent card with converted mana cost 7 or less from your hand onto the battlefield. If you're in the market for a Time Twister in a standard deck, then this card is very good. I'm excited by what this card might do. The other thing I really like about this card is it appears to have Nicol Bolas's horns on it, yep. Which I always like. It's also got the Planeswalker watermark on it, which is an interesting one, which I think means that it's a signature spell and is foreboding what happens in the future. So it's a story spell. I don't know very much about the story of the current Ravnica set. I'm sure someone out there can tell me. But the fact that it's got Nicol Bolas's horns on it, I always like Nicol Bolas. He's a good guy. Right, next pack: Spell Skewer, Thought Collapse, Sauroform Hybrid, Civic Stalwart, Undercity Scavenger, Grasping Thrall, Senate Griffin, Clear the Mind, Goblin Gathering. Those are our commons. Rumbling Ruin, Forbidding Spirit, Clan Guildmage. Those are our uncommons. That means we have a rare. That means we have a foil somewhere. Sphinx of Foresight is our rare. So you can reveal this from your opening hand. If you do, scry 3 at the beginning of your first upkeep. At the beginning of your upkeep, scry 1. So when it's in play, you get to scry 1 every turn. It's also, most importantly, a 4/4 flyer for 4/4 flyer for 4 mana. So it's really on curve. It's very good. It's quite strong once it is in play, and if you have it in your opening hand, you get to scry 3 as well at the start. So you get to smooth out all your draws, make sure you don't have any mana issues, and cast this on turn 4. And our foil for that pack was an uncommon. It was Knight of the Last Breath, 7 mana for a 4/4. It says 3, sacrifice another non-token creature, create a 1/1 black-white flying spirit token. It has Afterlife 3, so when it dies, you get to create 3 of those black-white spirit tokens. So this is the Orzhov mechanic, is the Afterlife. This means you get to sacrifice your other creatures with Afterlife. to get those 1/1 spirit tokens if you wanted lots of them. They fly, so the cards let you pump up your flyers. So there's 2 of them. There's one that gives every creature with flying +1 toughness, and there's another one for 5 mana that gives all of your creatures with flying +1 power. So it actually works quite nicely with those 1/1 spirit tokens. It's in blue, so you get some nice Esper decks with those sort of things. Right, cool. Next pack. So Shimmer of Possibility, Sauroform Hybrid, 10th District Veteran, Plague White, Scorchmark, Coral Commando, Catacomb Crocodile, Blade Juggler, Deface, Light Up the Stage again. So Light Up the Stage is our first uncommon. Borlak Clan Crusher, Frilled Mystic. So Frilled Mystic is the new Mystic Snake. So Mystic Snake was a green, 2 blue and 1 colourless for a creature that was a 2/2 with flash, and when you enter the battlefield, counter target spell. So it's basically exactly the same as this. You pay an extra green. You pay a little bit more coloured mana rather than colourless mana. So you pay an extra green, and you get 1 more power. 1 more power on it, which is great. This card, I really like it. I really liked playing with Mystic Snakes, to be honest. So I think Frilled Mystic is a good card as well. Our rare for the pack was Lavinia, Azorius Renegade. This card has been played in the blue-white aggro deck as well, the white-blue aggro deck. So it's mostly white decks, white cards splashing a couple of blue cards. So this says each opponent can't cast non-creature spells with converted mana cost greater than the number of lands that player controls. So if they've got ramp creatures in play, so if they've got elves that tap for mana in play, then they can't cast non-creature spells that cost greater than the number of lands they control. But then also, if they cast a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. This is what we call a hate bear, so it's 2/2 for 2, so it is a bear, and it stops people doing stuff. So this card could be quite good. It's certainly very good in older formats where a lot of people cast spells when they don't cast any mana on them. So that's quite nice. In standard, I think it's probably most useful for the top ability. It's very good against Tron in modern. So Tron has lands that tap for multiple mana. So it tries to resolve a Karn 7 mana Planeswalker on turn 3 off 3 lands, and it won't be able to do that if you have a Lavinia in play. Our foil for that pack, we did get a foil, was Gruul Beastmaster. So Gruul Beastmaster says Riot. So it's a 4 mana 2/2 with Riot, so it can be a 3/3 or it could be a 2 mana with haste, a 2/2 with haste. When it attacks, another target creature you control gets +X/+O, where X is Gruul Beastmaster's power. So you can give something +3/+3 or +3/O or +2/+O depending. Or if you've given the Gruul Beastmaster more of a pump up, then you get to give things even more power. So we've got 1 booster left. We said we needed a... one more Shockland. We need a Godless Shrine, the Orzhov one, to complete the set. So I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to hide away that number of cards on the bottom of it so we can't see. So I'm going to hide away the bottom 4 cards. One of these is a token, so our token is another beast token for Domri. Excellent. We're going to look at those cards later and find out what we've got. So Undersea Scavenger, Frenzied Arynx, Arrestor's Admonition, Open the Gates, Concordia Pegasus, Rafter Demon, Senate Griffin, Persistent Petitioners, Rakdos Locket, Savage Smash. So those are our commons. Our uncommons are Tin Street Dodger, Trollbred Guardian, and whatever this card is, I believe. If I can get hold of it. That is a Knight of the Last Breath, which means this should be our Guildgate. Yes, it's a Guildgate. And our rare is this card. So let's find out what the last rare of the pack of the box is, and it is an Absorb. Really good. Absorb is a 3 mana counter spell. Or counter target spell, you gain 3 life. This is a reprint of an old card. I can't remember what set it was. I think it was Mercadian Masks, a very, very old card. Around that sort of time, certainly. I don't think it was actually Masks. I think it might have been a later one. But Absorb, so it's an Azorius card. It's a classic counter spell. 3 mana for a counter spell is where we're at the moment. And then you gain 3 life as well, so it's really quite nice against the red decks. Absorb is one of the other money cards in the set, so we're very pleased to open this for our final booster, from our final booster of the box. So we've done really well with this booster box. We've opened 2 Planeswalkers, one of which was foil, so we've opened a Kaya, a Domri. We've opened a Kaya's Wrath, a Deputy of Detention, a foil Repudiate, Replicate. We've opened, what other things jump out at me? We've opened an Incubation Druid, I like that. We've opened a Biogenic Ooze, I quite like green cards apparently. We've opened some nice mythics as well, so some Ravager Worms. We've opened up a Benthid. We've opened up a bunch of rares that are really cool, and we've opened 5 Shocklands as well. So we've done really, really, really well out of our box. So all these cards going in the Weekend Warlords folders, so you'll be able to buy them from the shop starting from tomorrow. Yep. Give them a message online if you want to reserve any, let them know. Thank you very much. Follow our Twitch and YouTube channels.
Yeah, this will be posted up later on there.
Yeah, give us a subscribe on there and a like. So thank you very much, everyone. And yeah, cheers.
Nick's out.
Thank you very much. Nick's out.